things that you didn't know about Harry Potter. Filling in J.K. Rowling's Wizarding Kingdom, Fantastic Beasts is the 10th film to date in the franchise. There's a heck of a lot to look at in terms of production, behind-the-scenes trivia, and specifics in the films themselves, coming after the epic filmmaking effort that saw the 7 Harry Potter books turned into global blockbusters. This one is for the fans. Let's jump into some things that you didn't know about the books, movies, and even the writer herself. Number 1. J.K. Rowling had been sued 3 times for copyright infringement. First, Rowling was sued in 1999 by Nancy Stauffer, author of The Legend of Ra and the Muggles, a children's fantasy series. Stauffer believed that Rowling stole the word Muggle, which in Harry Potter refers to non-magical humans, and in The Legend of Ra to a species of mutant humans. Stauffer also stated that from a series of activity books titled Larry Potter and His Best Friend Lily, the name Harry Potter was taken. Obviously, there are some similarities here, but the court found that this was not enough to infringe copyright. Another author, Adrian Jacobs, also stated that parts of his work, The Adventures of Willy the Wizard, Livid Land, had been copied by Rowling. There are some links to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire in the short children's book Willy the Wizard. Both are magical tournaments involving a water rescue round. Rowling argued that the earlier work was not known to her, and the case was found in her favor. Eventually, when the Canadian band The Weird Sisters declined to give them the rights to their name, Rowling and WB were taken to court over the inclusion of a band named The Weird Sisters. The suit was dismissed out of court, making Rowling's record a direct 3 for 3. Number 2. Harry Potter is in fact rich. A visit to the Gringotts Wizard Bank in Diagon Alley is one of the first things Harry does when he finds out he's a wizard way back in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. He's going to need some money to buy school supplies for Hogwarts after all. He learns in his vault that he's got stacks and piles of gold galleons. Harry's wealth. He's way wealthier than most of his peers. And why? Books just don't describe that. But the Pottermore question was resolved by Rowling. Harry's ancestor, Linfred of Stincombe, created pharmaceutical remedies in the 12th century that were the cornerstone of Skelligro and Pepperup Potion. He created a business out of it, and for decades the fortune was preserved by the Potter family. Sometime later, Harry's grandfather, Flamont Potter, the son of the original Harry Potter, quadrupled the hair potion family fortune. The hair potion is also advertised in Fantastic Beasts in a stray journal. Number 3. Early on, Rowling wrote a sketch of the final chapter of the final book. Rowling calls the notion that she had written and locked away the first chapter of Deathly Hallows in the safe rubbish, but there was a tiny element of reality to it. I had written a sketch for what I thought the final chapter would be, very early on, but not the first day or anything, probably within the first year of writing. She told Harry Potter's big screen portiere Danielle Radcliffe in an announcement. I always knew that this was from really early on that I was working toward the point where Hagrid carried Harry, alive but supposedly dead, out of the forest, always. I knew we were always working towards a final battle at Hogwarts. I knew that Harry would walk to his death. I planned the ghosts for want of a better world coming back, that they would walk with him into the forest. We would all believe he was walking to his death and he would emerge in Hagrid's arms. And that mental image is what kept Hagrid alive despite the fact that he would have been a natural to kill in some ways. Rowling said, but because I always cleaved to this mental image of Hagrid being the one carrying Harry out, that was so perfect for me, because it was Hagrid who had took him into the world and Hagrid who would bring him back. That's where we were always going. Hagrid was never in danger. Number 4, there's one character from the books who exists in real life. In Rowling's series, Nicolas Flammel is the only known maker of the Philosopher's Stone, an object capable of turning metal into gold and granting immortality with its elixir of life. At 665 years old, Nicholas and his 658-year-old wife, Pernell, certainly make use of the elixir, but having lived more than 6 centuries in the wizarding world, they favor a quiet life. The real Nicolas Flammel, because he was a real person, was probably born in 1330 in Poitiers near Paris, which would indeed make him around 665 at the time of the Philosopher's Stone if he had really had access to elixir of life. Rowling wrote about the inspiration on Pottermore, where she said Flammel attended the French wizarding school Beauxbatons in her versions of his life. Number 5. The Dementors are based on Rowling's struggle with the depression after her mother's death. When J.K. Rowling finally published Harry Potter in 1997 on a limited print run, the effect was literal magic. But what ended to the allure of Pottermania was the fact that the author was a single mother, living on state benefits in Edinburgh. While raising her daughter and writing in a desperate situation, the fact that she was suffering from psychotic depression during this period still struck a chord, and it resonates in her writing too. 7 years before Harry Potter entered print, Rowling's mother had passed away from multiple sclerosis and never knew of the success of her daughter. She would use the experience to characterize the Harry Potter Dementors, creepy creatures that feed on human emotions. It's so difficult to describe depression to someone who's never been there, because it's not sadness. Rowling told Oprah Winfrey, "I know sadness. Sadness is to cry and to feel, but it's that cold absence of feeling, that really hollowed out feeling." That's what Dementors are. Number 6. Arthur Weasley was supposed to die. Not everybody will make it through alive in a war between good and bad. This epic, which would have led to very fluffy cozy books, she told Meredith Vieira. You know, all of a sudden, I'd be half through Goblet of Fire, and all of a sudden, everybody would just have a real great life, and the plot would go owl. This is not to suggest that Rowling knew who was on the chopping block precisely. After being attacked by Nagini in the Order of the Phoenix, she thought of killing Arthur Weasley, but instead decided to save him, partially because there were very few good fathers in the book. In fact, you could make a very good case for the only good father in the whole series being Arthur Weasley. However, she also seriously considered killing Ron, but thought about it better. Instead, Lupin, a character who she had no intention of killing when she began the books, and Tonks died during the final battle of Hogwarts. I wanted there to be an echo of what happened to Harry, just to show the absolute evil of Voldemort's doing. She said, "I think one of the most devastating things about war is the children left behind. As happened in the first war when Harry's left behind, I wanted us to see another child left behind." And it made it very poignant that it was Lupin and Tonks' newborn son. Number 7. Rupert Grint's audition was unusual. The first audition for the part of Hermione by 9-year-old Emma Watson took place in her school gym. She auditioned 8 times in total. Grint, who was then 10, sent a video audition and went in a very odd direction. By sending a picture of yourself and some information to Newsround, I found that you could audition, he said in 2012. First of all, I made my own video with me pretending to be my drama teacher, who was unfortunately a girl, and then I did a rap of how I wanted to be Ron, and then I did my own script thing and sent it off. He had some competition though. Tom Felton auditioned for both Ron and Harry before ultimately being cast as Draco Malfoy.